moving on, Nick, to the Philadelphia Flyers.
Torts.
Mishkov. By the way, Flyers fans, you should be happy we traded for Mishkov.
That's right. For that fan that commented on our post, oh, look at these Habs fans talking about Mishkov. We love Mishkov. So you could end that narrative right now. Fact of the matter is, Philadelphia Flyers had 38 wins. Kind of a surprising season for them. 38 wins, 33 losses. We don't talk about overtime losses on this podcast because they're worthless. 32nd in the power play. That really hurt them. Who's in? Nobody. Absolutely nobody except Michkov came early from the KHL. That is a nice surprise and might change the trajectory of this team's power play. But we'll talk about that later. Who's out? Cam Atkinson. So, good role player, I find. Maybe not the Cam Atkinson that he used to be, but it's still a little bit of a loss. Our player tier. So, unfortunately, Flyers fans, I think you know this better than we do, but you don't have players that are 91 plus point players at this time. So nobody.
What do you mean? Mishkov's not going to be a 91 plus point player?
Well, according to that fan. But realistic fans understand that a rookie coming in, even at 20 years old, that he's going to be this year, he's not going to hit 91 points. He's not going to hit 80 to 90 points either. So you could write that. If you guys want, you could write that
Nick,
down.
Can you give us some positive info on the Flyers here? What's the matter with you?
Well, they just signed Konechny. And Konechny is the only player that we have in our tier group. He's tier 3, 70 to 79 points. That's where we have him at. Maybe a possibility of hitting tier 2. I don't know, Vince. Why don't you tell us?
I like Konechny. I'm glad they signed him. I think he plays a style of hockey that Torch likes. I just feel if he was better surrounded or consistently better surrounded, especially at the center position, he could hit that high 70 to 80 points. But that's the thing with the Flyers. The Flyers came out of the gate like people thought, okay, Torts implemented his system. The players are buying in. And then it was the end of the season. Like as soon as that whole thing with Sean Couturier happened, it seemed like the whole team got deflated and they had a terrible end of the year. Hence why they didn't make the playoffs. Because with the beginning of the year they should have made the playoffs. But the end of the year really brought them down. Travis Konechny, he's a consistent player to me. Last year, his shot total went way, way up at 244 compared to 191. But his shooting percentage, 13.5, which is what he was at. So he got 68 points last year on a power play that was 32nd, dead last in the league. Now, guys, Michkov is going to change that on the power play. That power play is not going to be 32nd. It's not going to be first in the NHL, but it ain't going to be 32nd. So, because of that, Konechny could get his extra 6, 7 points, 8 points, and make it into the high 70s, maybe hit that 80 points. So, I really like him as a player. But he's not he can't do everything by himself. He needs help, and I feel last year he was on an island on his own.
9 power play points. So your top scorer has 9 power play points. I mean, being 32nd power play in the league will do that to you, but like you said, you spoke about well surrounded. His most consistent line mates last year were Sean Couturier, the captain who was sent to the doghouse by Torts, and Tyson Forrester, who I don't think is projected to be a top line player. Maybe top 6. I think he can flip to top 6. He's good, but just to say, like, you surround this guy with people who can dish him the puck or could put the puck in the net, and his points could increase. But if you remember correctly, Konechny was also in the doghouse, and there were trade rumors for Konechny. People were saying he was going to be traded, and now he signed the extension. So, like, I don't know what happened there, but something had to have happened to have eased the waters a little bit. Anyways, I'm glad he's staying in Philadelphia because anytime you change team, your production might dip. consistent. I absolutely love this guy. And for a player he was a $5 million player. So he was putting up those points at $5 million a year. That's great value. Absolutely great value. His new contract, have you mentioned what it was or no?
No, I did mention.
His new contract, if I'm not mistaken here, it's his last year at 5.5. Then he's moving up to 8.75. So anytime you move on to 8.75 now, I'm expecting you with hands down to flirt with a point per game, if not be a point per game player. But as this team develops, like you said, Mishkov going and they have a few prospects coming up as well. We'll get to it later. I expect him to be easily a point per game player when this team is ready to at least compete for a playoff spot. They competed last year, but I think it was above what everybody expected.
Yeah. I don't see them making the playoffs this year, but I will say that Konechny is their top player to own in fantasy. I'll also say that he plays a style that the Broad Street Bullies need. He is that shit disturber. He is that guy, that Brad Marchand type annoying guy. Always talking, but he backs it up with points as well. I like Konechny for this year. I think that Konechny will only keep improving as the team keeps improving, which is, I think, your guys' points here. I'm excited for the fact that he's actually staying on this team. His contract, it's a little rich for somebody that's never hit great point paces. He only hit an 80-point pace or above once in his career, which was 22-23, where he only played 60 games and got 61 points. But he's the type of player that has the talent to be just under a point per game, I think, consistently, as long as the team around him is improving. So I love that. One of the players that kind of came in recently, because this is a very young team, I find, right? And has been doing pretty well, is Owen Tippett. Owen Tippett is a guy that I think $5 million is his contract. I should have looked it up before mentioning it, but
6.2.
6.2.
I think this is the first year of his extension.
Yeah. So Junior, talk to me a little bit about Tippett.
Who? No, I'm just kidding. Relax. Owen Tippett, like you said, 28 goals, 25 assists, 53-point pace last year. I feel like it's a guy that not a lot of people talk about. Fantasy related, yes. I think he's more important to a National Hockey League team, not fantasy related, than he is in fantasy. I'll take 28 goals anytime, right? I mean, this guy could hit 30. Same thing like Konechny. You surround him a little bit better, he could be a consistent 30-goal scorer, more power play points. He had nine power play points last year. So if their power play could get a little bit better, and he's a big part of that, I think he could be a big part of that. I see his point production going up a little bit. I like where we placed him right now. I don't think he's entered his... he's like starting to figure out who he is. 27 goals last year, 28 goals this year. I think he's found his niche. I think we could foresee him to being a consistent 30-goal scorer and about a 60 to 69-point player.
A late bloomer. A lot of people have had kind of given up on him because he wasn't developing as quickly as other players when he was drafted. But it seems once he hit Philly, he got his confidence, and then he started putting up the points that they thought he could put up. So I agree with you. I think there'll be a progress this year. I don't think he'll hit that 70 point thing. I think he'll hit in the mid 60s. The goals, I feel he could hit the 30 goals. He almost hit it last year. I think he can hit between the 30 and 35 goals as long as that power play gets better. Especially that he takes a ton of shots, 289 shots. So he takes a ton of shots. His shooting percentage 9.7, but he's figuring it out. So I feel for next year we have him in the right tier. He's gonna keep on improving, and the more chemistry he gets with Konechny, and that's down the middle, the Flyers are worrisome. So
just to that point, the chemistry with Konechny was his least common line mate. Do you believe that? Least common line. I'm looking at like his line mates from quarter to quarter. This guy's played with about 20 different players on his line.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And he scored 28 goals, we said?
Yeah, 28.
Man, get this guy a proper center.
Oh, 35 goals.
and just some consistency with his line mates. And who knows what he could do.
What do you guys think about Farabee? Is he a player that could eventually hit that 60 to 69 points? Is he somebody that we think is another slow or late bloomer? Do we have any opinions about Farabee?
I really liked him because he had come off a nice season, like 38 points in 55 games in 2020, 2021. So, you think, oh, okay, this kid's got something. He's showing signs. And then he just never really took off. Like he last year, he was on pace for 50 points. Well, he got 50 points in 82 games. By now, you would expect a little bit more. I was expecting a little bit more, but look, it's never too late. Vince just said Tippett was a bit of a late bloomer. Maybe Farabee's along the same path. So I think given the situation, the context, and the opportunity he could have on this team, especially now adding a bit more of an offensive punch with Mishkov, I think maybe he could push 60 points this year. I think he has the tools. Now it's up to him and the coaching staff to put it together.
Coaching staff. That's in with Philly. This is what worries me, is the coaching staff. And listen, I take Torts as a coach any time of the day, but we all have to remember that Torts is an old school guy, and a player can score a hat trick one game and the next game get benched because he gave the puck away. So that's where a lot of these players that we're talking about, like the Tippetts, the Farabees, it has a lot to do with how the coaching is gonna handle different situations. And like some players have blossomed under Torts, but we've also seen a lot of players crumble under Torts and then succeed somewhere else. So I put Farabee in the same area as Tippett. I just feel because Tippett is ahead of him now, he'll get those extra minutes, whereas Farabee will have to gain those minutes back this season.
And it's a little easier for Tippett being a natural goal scorer to succeed than it is for Farabee, who maybe might need someone around him to help him get more points. Because I don't think he's good enough yet, maybe, to make those around him better.
There's a lot of defensemen on this team. Well, 6 of them start every game,
Yeah,
right?
obviously. Or else they can't play.
But there's only one defenseman that kind of put up 40 points or more this season, and that was Travis Sanheim.
Mm-hmm.
However, he's not necessarily meant to be the number 1 power play guy or the number 2 power play guy, as most people foresee Cam York and Drysdale playing those roles. Ristolainen is still on this team. Igor Zamula had power play time last year. So who is the number 1 power play guy moving forward, you guys think?
Drysdale. Drysdale is the player who's going to make this power play work. The problem with Drysdale is, can he stay healthy? He's always hurt, since even with the Ducks. I mean, what were his games played? And he's been in the league for 4 years.
Last year he played 34 games. He had 10 points, which is a 24-point pace.
Yeah. So Drysdale is the one who's got the talent to bring this power play to the next level, or at least out of the bottom. And
6th overall pick from 2020.
Yeah, and he has the offensive skills to do this. So, listen, I think it's Drysdale. I think Sanheim surpassed Cam York last year, and that's why he was getting the power play time and the number 1 pairing defense time. So, but can he repeat it? I don't know. I feel that this defense is very big, rugged, and Drysdale is the main key for that offense.
I think it's Drysdale's job to lose. He'll get first dibs guaranteed. Cam York could get an opportunity there too, but I was surprised to see, because I just paid attention. I saw a minus 20 in 34 games. That's pretty bad
For Drysdale?
for Drysdale. That's pretty bad. But then I went to go see his minutes, and when he went to Philly, they played him 21 minutes, guys. So they really like put him out there and see, like, show me what you could do. And I guess injuries kind of set him back a little bit, because what I was wondering was maybe he didn't perform because he was a -20. I figured he didn't have a lot of ice time, and I figured if he doesn't have a lot of ice time, he can't get his rhythm going, and then hence why the power play was bad. But they're actually playing him 21 minutes a game, so he's definitely given the opportunity. I think the fact that they were competing for a playoff spot hindered a lot of this. Helped Sanheim play more and get more opportunity on the power play, because they were trying to win games instead of trying to develop and build some kind of chemistry. I think it's naturally on skill alone, it should be Drysdale's job to lose.
I think you guys are bang on Drysdale should be the guy. I just feel that they're still looking for who that guy is going to be.
Oh yeah,
I think they tried a lot of different things last year. Because if you even look at the power play time, Cam York had 39% of the power play time, but he had the most points between those guys. Zamula had power play time. Sanheim had a bit of power play time, not much, but he had the most points out of everybody. So they're still kind of taking a look at who could possibly steal that job. It's not a very lucrative job, but maybe Michkov makes it look a little bit better. So with 30-second power play, right? So let's jump right into Michkov. We'll get to the goalies right after that, but Matvei Michkov is the star moving forward on this team. I think pretty much every Flyer fan will tell you that. He was second to Bedard in that draft year, and a lot of people were saying that if Bedard wasn't there, Michkov would have been the number 1 overall pick. So, are we saying that?
Okay, sorry, just to interrupt.
Just talent-wise, sorry.
So that they don't get confused. He wasn't second in the draft, but he was second, touted second.
Touted second talent-wise.
Okay, sorry. I just want to clarify because
yes,
could have been.
So, I mean, what are we thinking about Michkov in his first year?
if he hits 50 points, it's a very successful season. And if he could hit 25 goals, it's a very successful season. I feel he's gonna be a phenomenal player, or he has the potential to be a phenomenal player. I don't believe he can do what Bedard did last year on his first year in the NHL. And man, I'm going to repeat myself again with Philly, but Torts is the wild card in here. Is Torts going to put up with his mistakes and keep on giving him the minutes? Or is he going to be a hard ass and tell him and staple his ass to the bench when he does something wrong? And that's where the difference will come in his points. I feel he could hit 50 points next year, and if he does, it's a successful season.
Yeah, I see him hitting 45 to 50 points, 20 to 25 goals. Like you said, I think in the end, if he shows that he's producing like that, Torts will live with some of the mistakes. And now, it also depends a bit like how the team goes. If they're competing for a playoff spot when they're not supposed to, unfortunately, it changes the way you have to coach. Coaches are going to play to win now, and he might feel the effect of that. But I think Torts, he's experienced enough to be able to say, if you're going to put up the points, fine, I can live with some of the mistakes. But the thing with Mishkov, and what said a lot, what people were afraid of, was his mentality. He was a bit lazy on the back check. He wasn't as implicated in the defensive zone. So that's what retracted a lot of GMs, but his talent is too good to pass up. At least 8 teams passed on him, I think, at the draft. He went 8th overall or 9th. So as long as he puts up the points, I think he'll be fine. And if we project right and he gets 40 to 45 to 50 points, then he's golden. I mean, Flyers fans should be very excited for him.
Well, we've said 45 points is a very good rookie season for a lot of guys who end up being franchise players in the end. I think Michkov has that offensive pedigree to even hit that 50 points, like Vince said. And if anything more than that, I think is gravy. Mm-hmm. He has obviously be on the ice, and I think that's what you guys alluded to with Torts, right? We don't know if he'll live with Michkov's defensive game, but he is the heir apparent goal scoring machine that Philadelphia needs on their team, and him, Konechny, and Tippett, I think, is going to be the goal scoring tandem for quite a while here.
Can I throw a name out there just to see?
Sure, go.
Sean Couturier. Does he come back from his 36-point season? This is the captain of the team. Does this whole thing with Torts blow over and he comes back to be come back to be the player he was? He did come back from a devastating injury. So, but can he be the player that guides some of these young players to the next level?
I mean, I think so. Look, he's still their captain. So, I mean, at some point, if you're not going to get rid of him, some of that has to be water under the bridge for the team's sake, for the culture of that team. He's not a bad player, and he's still 31, so it's not like he's old. I think his injuries maybe make him a little older, but if he could stay healthy, I think he could even flirt with the 50 to 60 points.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I see him more as a 55-point player moving forward rather than a 70-point player that he was during his career. Point pace player, anyways. I mean, like, if you look at 2021 all the way down to 2017, it's always been 76, 78, 70, 75-point paces that he's put up. So I just feel like those days might be over a bit. Not because he's 31, because 31's not old, but more of the injuries that he sustained might lower him down to that 55 with the potential of hitting 60.
If my first instinct, if I was coach of the Flyers, is to put Michkov on his line.
Oh, yeah.
So he can protect Michkov defensively.
Daily Faceoff has them projected. Forrester, Couturier, and Michkov together.
So Konechny was there, though, last year, right?
Yeah, now they actually have Konechny and Tippett. They're two highest point producers on the same line. But again, this is Daily Faceoff
Daily
just projecting.
There's a lot that could change there, absolutely.
Usually does. Usually a lot of this changes.
Yeah.
But it's fun to just at least have something to go off.
Absolutely. Their number one draft pick from this season raised a few eyebrows, but Jet Luchenko is the youngest in the draft class. He was almost a full year younger than some of the other guys that went. So what happens with that is that you kind of see progression that might occur a little bit later, and we're kind of seeing that, right? I think Luchenko's draft stock has risen after the draft, and I see maybe a top 6 center for them in the future. Do you guys see that this guy is the replacement to Couturier, or?
Well, when you draft a player that high, it's because those are your expectations.
Okay.
Your expectation is he's going to be either your top, or if not your top, your second line center. So it was the shock of the draft this year, that pick. But
I mean, Seneke was pretty shocking.
Yeah, Seneke going third. But I mean, this
one of our viral videos.
It was still a shock. But listen, they have scouts. They saw after he got drafted, people actually looked into him and said, "Oh, okay, well, this kid isn't as bad as we thought he was, or maybe off the radar." So it's with young players, it's all about development. How is he going to develop? How is he going to grow into his body? How is he going to help himself to make the next step to the NHL? But for sure, their projection for him is top 1 or top 2 center.
I've been listening to Dauber reports, because they were talking about the summer showcase, Canada World Juniors, and he was probably one of the most standouts of that showcase. On a line, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong because I don't know if it was 2 different segments, but I think he was on a line with Seneke and Igilna.
That's a nice
and they were the best. They were by far.
Nice
that was by far the best. The best line, the best line in the showcase. And I'll just go on to say I do think he's Couturier's replacement. I think he's your ideal, perfect number 2 center, both ways. Big face, very important face-off guy, and could still put up points.
Guys, what do we think about Tyson Forster? He's on the number 1 line on this team, and he's a prospect, so he's played under 100 games, I believe.
Yeah, he has. Last year was his first year with the team. I know for a fact that Torts is very high on this player. Thinks that this player can be very good. There was an actual interview, I don't know with who, where Torch says that he's got high expectations for Tyson Forster. Last year was his first year, 33 points, but the impressive thing is he put in 20 goals. So, I mean...
for a rookie.
For a rookie to put in
a little older
goals.
rookie. He's 22
Yeah,
years
exactly.
old, but still.
But 22 goals, it's still something for a rookie. Got his feet wet. And now I'm guessing they're expecting him to take the next step. What's the next step? Probably in the 45 to 50 points, 25 goals, 30 goals, up that. Like I said, these guys, they had a terrible power play last year. I mean, you push that power play from 32nd to 26th, and everybody gets a bit more points. So,
and you know what could help, and the reason we say Mishkov helps with that is a lot of this power play didn't have a focal point.
mm-hmm.
Like no team was saying, "Oh, we got to prepare for this guy." Whereas now they're going to say, "We got to prepare for Mishkov," which opens a couple of lanes for someone else, and then we'll see who takes advantage of that. But usually we say rookie year we expect 40 to 45 points to 50 points for an elite. Okay, not like
a very good rookie.
not generational like Bedard, but like a very good elite
exactly.
prospect. We expect at least 45 to 50. He hit 33.
Yeah.
So if he's second tier, that's not bad at all if you're a Flyers fan. And
he could be a top 6 forward.
I agree. I think, like you guys said, if he hits the 45 points next year, it's a nice progression in his development for sure.
We have to watch training camp. I want to see if somebody like Oliver Bonk gets a shot to make the team. He's a little bit young still, but we'll see. He's their defenseman prospect of the future. He's pretty solid defensively. Team Canada player. Denver Barkey and Bobby Brink. Bobby Brink played last year. I don't see these guys being fantasy relevant, but maybe somebody to keep an eye on for deeper leagues, and especially in the future. Guys, they also have Kolosov, who is a goaltending prospect for them, and another Russian who just joined them for this year, Ivan Fedotov. He'll be joining Samuel Urson. Urson last year had an 890 save percentage, 2.82 goals against average, 53rd in goals saved above expected on 5-on-5. Fedotov, it's his first year in the league, so we don't really have stats for him. But we're expecting these guys to be fighting for a number one goaltender spot here.
I feel Fedotov is going to take this number one spot.
Is it because you're following the money, or is it because you think he's that much better than Urson?
It's not but scouts say he is a better fit than Urson as a goalie, technique-wise, size-wise. So I think he's the one. And guys, there's one thing with Torts is he makes goalies look good. His system makes goalies look good. And with the numbers Urson put up last year, he's on a very short leash, like 0.890 save percentage, 2.82 goals against average. I think Fedotov can easily take over that job.
Yeah, look, his numbers weren't good in the 3 games he played, but I mean, 811 save percentage. But everything just felt rushed last year when he came. It's like...
I think there was one game he gave up like 9 goals, no?
Yeah, that probably does it, right?
I mean, you don't come back from that after.
Well, look, in 3 games, he had 10 goals again. So if he had 8 in one game, then, that explains
2 games
it.
were not so bad.
He had one really, really good game. I think he even got a shutout, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no, he allowed 1 goal. But anyways, I think they're going to give Fedotov the opportunity over Urson. I think they've invested in him now. And kind of like Drysdale, right? Like, he'll get first dibs because of his profile, and if he takes advantage of it, it's his. If he doesn't, then Urson comes in.
Let's wrap it up. Final thoughts. Anybody have anything to add before I give what Dom said about their offseason?
I think they're trending in the right way. I just don't think they're playoff contention. I know they made the playoffs or fought for just
they
short
fought.
of the playoffs last year. I don't think they should be competing for a playoff spot, but I didn't think that last year either, and they did.
Yeah, I think they're in a tough division to compete for a playoff spot. I mean, I think that
Well, I mean, Carolina's going to miss the playoffs. according to you.
100%. Yeah, that's a guarantee. Carolina misses the playoffs, but we'll get there after. So yeah, I think they're gonna be, but I think they're gonna be competitive. I think their power play is gonna come out of the gutter, and Torts always has teams prepared. Man, his teams are always well prepared.
So Dom's model had the Philadelphia offseason as 18th best, basically status quo. Nothing really changed that much, but Michkov is basically replacing Atkinson, and that's a huge win for all Philadelphia Flyers fans. It's going to be amazing to watch this guy. At least you have something to watch this year more than previous years. Something to be excited about. He should increase the power plays ranking right off the bat. And I think if Michkov was counted in this Dom's model, which he wasn't because he was already a draftee, he wasn't a free agent pickup, then this would have increased their ranking of 18th best to maybe 15th, 14th, 13th.
And when his model came out, he hadn't. It wasn't official that he was coming in. He was coming to North America, I believe.
All right, that does it for Philadelphia.